What's up, guys? It's the real main event, the Rogue Soldier, the essential John L. Crossfire.
And I'm Mrs. Crossfire.
And once again, you guys are tuned into Caught
In Conversation. Shakalaka-laka.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 97, not 98, 97 of Caught in Conversation. As I said in the conversation with Samuel that you're about to hear, that it was going to be episode 97 and episode 98, and I got a little bit ahead of myself, I think. Apparently I can't count. Maybe I was just trying to give myself more credit, but in saying that, when I look at my Podbean app, it says that I have X amount of episodes because they count the little 2-minute introduction as an episode. So technically it's episode 98. It's the 98th thing on the actual feed. But no, episode 97, of course. I am John L. Crossfire, that little giggle that I fell in love with almost 5 years ago. Miss Nova Lee. And obviously Miss Nova Lee wasn't actually a part of this conversation. She was busy the day that I did this. Yes. I think I remember what you were doing, and you weren't feeling very well either. We filmed it, recorded it on the Monday the 26th of February. Yeah. We're doing this intro and outro on March 13th. So this episode does contain somewhat of a health update, but it says in the description that I wrote that there was meant to be a health update. But at this point, I've had another appointment, and they've taken one stitch out. But by the time this drops, I'm actually going to be back at the eye hospital again. So as always, keep an eye out for the vlogs for the most up-to-date one, because by the time this episode goes out, it's going to actually be the day after Insane Asylum. So by that point, I've been there, I've done commentary. Hopefully Jackson Thornhill once again is hashtag and still. I know it's getting a little bit clustered, but we're just trying to get him in the can more than anything. And, you know, to be honest, like, I appreciate that everyone, you know, keeps asking, you know, how the eye is and this and that. But at this point, I'm sick of doing health updates for the sake of health updates. So, yeah, there is... I don't know if it's actually in the conversation or not, or if I was meant to make a mental note of it, but yes, one of the stitches has come out by the time this episode came out, and it has actually improved a lot. But yeah, hopefully the time this episode drops, more will have come out. I don't think all of them will just because of the complications, but hopefully more have come out. But yeah, I'm just going to go in circles. Mrs. Crossfire, she just jumped on the intro and outro just to kind of, you know, boost the episode a little bit, boost those views. I'll probably still put her in the thumbnail just because why not? But Mrs. Crossfire actually picked the song of the week for this episode based on our most recent trip, because it was, you know, she was listening to her tunes on the train, and we had a little moment. It was really cute. We started, just kind of took an earphone each, and we shared a little cute moment with our music. And Samuel, he listens to the same, you know, for the most part, similar to music to myself and Mrs. Crossfire. And the band she's chosen have actually got a lot of ties with professional wrestling, so it makes sense. Mrs. Crossfire, what song have you picked for our Song of the Week?
So I picked Over and Over by 3 Days Grace.
Yes. Of course,
banger.
SmackDown vs. Raw 07, Riot, Animal I've Become, Chef's Kiss, myself, and I guess a lot of other professional wrestling fans, they discovered bands such as 3 Days Grace and Skillet and stuff like that because of the WWE sound. I've said this a few times, but I'm going to say it on the podcast because I'm a fan of Post Malone. I enjoy his music. But I'm going to say fuck Post Malone because the soundtrack he's picked for 2K24 is trash. It's trash. It's not a professional wrestling game soundtrack, but whatever. The song of the week, as Mrs. Crossfire picked, Over and Over by 3 Days Grace. And the match of the week, as you'll hear in this conversation, Samuel enjoys tag team wrestling, especially when it's tag team wrestling done right. And one of the teams that he likes marking out over is FTR, aka The Revival, when they were in WWE. And a match that I have picked is from their time in NXT, and it is The Revival versus DIY, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, in a 2 out of 3 falls match at NXT TakeOver Toronto 2016. And let me tell you, when I went back to find what event this match was from, because I remembered it was in Toronto and yada yada yada, when it said 2016, I almost had a bit of an existential crisis because it does not feel like it's been 8 years since I watched that match live. What the fuck?
What the frickety frick?
Just, how? How? 8 years. It blew me away. It's not quite 8 years. I think it's like mid mid this year. I think it's around June-ish. I could be
Close
wrong, but
enough though.
but
Yeah, it's
wow,
pretty wild.
8 years since that banger match. But of course, I believe that's actually the match. I literally just re-watched it when I did the conversation with Samuel 2 weeks ago as we record this intro and outro, and I believe that's actually the match where DIY captured a match from it's Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood in AEW. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the WWE names, but yeah, when they were the Revival, it's the match that DIY beats them for the tag titles. But yeah, that blew my mind when I put this together that it's been 8 years since that match happened. I didn't even know Mrs. Crossfire at that point. That was 3 years before I met her, and I'm like, what? COVID and health and everything is just, it's just blown my mind. But no, there's a very fun conversation with Samuel, and Mrs. Crossfire, although not actually in the interview, I think is still in the background a couple of times, just with her random one-liners as she was with the Jackson Thornhill episode and the Mighty Kai episode. But yeah, I think if there's anything else you need to add at this point, as I said, it's going to be outdated technically by the time it goes up, but we're right on the cusp of episode 100, and we've got a little something special planned. I don't want to blurt it out just in case it does change, but hopefully by the time episode 100 comes out, we'll do the intro and outro either the same day we do the conversation or at least the same week, so that we're back live,
back
almost essentially.
track.
But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Samuel Beeton. Mrs. Crossfire, if you'd like to do the official introduction here.
Ladies and gentlemen, Samuel Beeton!
So, ladies and gentlemen, I am here with Samuel Beeton. Samuel and I have gone back and forth on social media for probably about 4 or 5 years now. Maybe 4 years, I think. Used to.
Well, it's been that long.
Yeah, that's crazy. Mainly, a lot of people remember Samuel Beeton from the banter that he was having with Big James on Big James's social media, and we shouted Samuel out in that episode. It was all in good fun, or all just for the bands, if you want to say that. But yeah, I've been talking to Samuel I've been talking to you like regularly, probably for 2 years now, maybe a little bit more. And half the time it's just complete nonsense and random reels and extremely messed up humor on both of our parts, which we can't share on our public accounts. But so Samuel, he's currently writing for PWDownUnder, which we'll get into. And I've actually had the pleasure of making a handful of graphics for PWDownUnder. I just did one for the top 10 tag teams of 2023. It wasn't as fancy as the one I did for the 2022 men's list. It was literally just writing. I believe whoever's in charge of the website messaged me and was just like, can you do this, but literally just have it just be text? And I'm like, cool, that was the quickest 15 minutes of my life. The biggest thing was just deciding what fucking font. But how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing really well, dude. Still on a high from last night as of the time of recording. The Elimination Chamber in Perth just wrapped up last night. And it was good to finally watch a premium live event at night for once. And so, yeah, I got to bed pretty late, woke up pretty late as well. And I'm just trying to watch, and I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, well, by the time this drops, it'll be like, I think, March 24th, because I've got like 3 episodes in the can, and then one dropped this morning as we're recording this. But like, I very, very thoroughly enjoyed the show. Like, I mean, and in a way, like, on one hand, like, I was kind of still hoping that the men's chamber would main event, just so they'd kind of, made Seth bigger, because he was almost like a side note in a lot of ways with the whole Rock, Cody, Roman thing. So I was like, but I get it. Rhea's the hometown, well, not hometown, but home country girl, so, give her a moment kind of thing. And Nia, to her credit, like, everyone kind of shits on Nia Jax, but she actually delivered a lot more than I think most people were expecting from her.
Yeah, funny enough, I hadn't even considered the fact that Rhea would main event. But I'm actually glad that she did, because that would have been the perfect way to end the show. And I agree with you. Nia did do well, better than usual.
By her standards, unfortunately. The thing that annoys me the most is, and I've said this to Mrs. Crossfire, I think on air at some point as well, but before her knee injury, she was really starting to improve, and it was almost like when she came back, I don't know if it was a lack of confidence or what it was, but she just kind of flipped almost, and it was like, oh, okay, well, there goes that. But she's slowly starting to improve, I guess better late than never. But before we go on a rant and just mark out, because, like, dude, that, honestly, might be biased because we're both from Australia, but, I wouldn't sit here and say it's a 5-star best show I've ever seen, but if I was Dave Meltzer and I was going to give it a rating, honestly, I'd give it a 3.5, maybe 4 stars. Like, it was a solid show from start to finish. Both, probably the best female Elimination Chamber match that they've actually had to date, which was awesome. And the men's was awesome. Logan Paul impressed a lot of people, and I enjoyed his comedy antics with the fucking permanent marker on the inside of the pod. I mean, got to find some way to break time up, I guess. But before we get too much on a tangent, Samuel, what was your earliest wrestling memory?
So I am currently 22 years of age. I'm a product of the post-Attitude Era WWE product. So I, to the best of my ability, I can recall being about 4 or 5 years old, and I had some distant relatives who were casual wrestling fans. And one of my earliest memories was watching a DVD of WrestleMania 19.
Oh, wow, that's
when I was about 4 or 5. Yeah, it's my favorite WrestleMania. It's probably just the nostalgia talking, but I can still watch that now, and every single sequence, every spot, every moment of every match, I can watch it, and I can just feel like, yeah, I like this. This is how I like my wrestling.
Myself and Mrs. Crossfire, we just watched Brock and Austin again because it was actually the match of the week for literally today's episode that dropped, and like I literally kind of skimmed through the video like as we're watching that match, and like you've got, I think, Matt Hardy and Ray opens it, and then like there's obviously the HBK fucking Jericho match, and even, it's kind of very controversial right now, but the Vince Hogan street fight, like for what it was.
Well, you can't say those people anymore, John.
Like, it was good shit. Like, that's where Vince does the thing where he pops up from the apron and his fucking face is just covered in blood. Like, that shot, like, embodies professional wrestling with all the emotions in that shot. That's a fucking great Mania. And then I think Brock and Kurt main evented. So that's a pretty good Mania for you to start with.
Another name you can't mention. Jesus, are you going to say the 4th one?
Yeah, fuck. I'm going to get myself cancelled here, but no. No, it's a fucking amazing Mania start to finish. And obviously, I think that's the first time an Australian had ever appeared on a WrestleMania. Obviously, he got taken out of the match due to experience, but Nathan Jones does the run-in during the Taker match. Hits that big monster fucking spin kick, which is insane to think that a dude that big can lift his leg that high. That's kind of scary to think about, but that's a pretty awesome Mania to start on. Yeah.
Funny enough, with Nathan Jones, he was one of the reasons that it was suggested that I watch that Mania, because this is a bit of a personal story, but I'll keep it brief. When Nathan Jones was serving time in jail in Tasmania, my dad was actually serving time at the same time.
Okay, yeah.
In the same facility. And so he kind of, they're not good mates, but they kind of know each other, and he spoke. I can remember people speaking about Nathan Jones and how big he was, and just when I heard that he was on this show, I had to see it, and they were right. He was massive, and everything just kind of trailed from there. I got into more wrestling, and yeah, crazy enough, it was because of Nathan Jones.
At what point from discovering professional wrestling did you learn about Australian professional wrestling?
Very recently.
Very recently? Okay.
Yeah, I would say 2017, maybe 18. I got an ad on social media for the Sunshine Coast promotion, UPW.
Yep.
They will be doing a tour. Yeah, they are great. They were doing a tour of a nearby town where I lived at the time, and they did about 4 or 5 shows there, and I went to every single one, and that's when I found out that wrestling actually existed over here. Like, consecutive shows, and there was more than like 1 or 2 companies. I don't believe I heard about WCW Australia from way back in the day. But when I found out that wrestling actually has a history here, it was a very big surprise, and I got into it immediately. I researched all the companies, watched as many matches as I could, and that's been about 6 odd years now.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, and I've mentioned this in every episode, and I just sound like a crack record, but it will never fail to amaze me that you can literally just pull out your phone and go to Google or go to YouTube and type in like Australian professional wrestling or whatever, and like the amount of stuff that actually comes up, and you're like, how has all of this been here the whole fucking time? Like, it's nuts to me. It's absolutely nuts.
Right.
But have you ever?
Yeah, it was a very. Oh, sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say, did you ever consider getting into the business yourself as a wrestling fan, or?
Oh, of course, yeah. As I said, I'm still young. Maybe one day, if the opportunity was there, I could find something to do. But as things stand, it's not the right time.
Yep.
But I am aware there are schools near me, within the vicinity of me, and of course there's a lot of great schools all over the country. If at one point I do decide to do anything and I really want to put my a lot of time and effort into it, then I know that there are great options.
Yeah, well, one specifically, you've got 3 Count near you, and I'd argue that that's honestly probably one of the better ones in the country from what I've seen and what I've heard from people that have actually trained there personally. But I mean, at the same time, even if you decide that you start training and decide you don't want to actually like wrestle, there is so many things that you can do within professional wrestling. Like the thing people kind of overlook these days, like the value of a good referee or a good manager or whatever it may be. And I'm like, there's still always something to do. And as you said, you've got plenty of it around you. I think there's, by my head count, I think there's 6 active promotions in the state of Queensland as it stands. But it's kind of a cool thing to think about when a few years ago Queensland wrestling wasn't looked favourable on, if I can, not to understate or overstate in any direction, but a lot of people shat on Queensland as a whole, and it seems like in the last probably, again, 4 years, with new people coming in and people that know what they're doing from other states and the opening of 3 Count, et cetera, it's really, it's almost a boom period for Queensland specifically. And the whole, what did they call it? I think it was the hashtag Queensland Strong thing. I've talked about it a couple of times too, but the merging of, I guess, the big 3 or the big 4 promotions up there actually deciding, hey, maybe we should work together so that the fans win. It's like, wow, if only New South Wales or Victoria or whatever would follow suit, especially New South Wales. They're running against each other just for the sake of running against each other. But no, it's really cool to see the lengths that the Queensland professional wrestling has come in the last handful of years.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned 3 Count. A lot of the guys that train there, either as trainers or as students, have a lot of those guys have really been putting themselves out there over the last few years, and it's been really good to see. It's obviously Brisbane based, and I'm not Brisbane based. I'm more north of the sunny coast. So to see all those guys make that travel to come to a lot of other promotions outside of the city is really good to see. And a few of them have gone interstate as well, as far as Perth. And excuse me, it's great to see, and I hope more places like that pop up over the years because it can be a big deal to really help the scene.
No, definitely is, and I shout him out all the time. I don't think he even listens to the show, but if he ever does, he's going to probably get sick of hearing his name. But I shout Bobby Bishop out specifically all the time. He's one of the nicest dudes that I've ever met, and I say a lot on this show that there's a certain promotion that I don't like mentioning by name, and maybe it's Sour Grapes, but I didn't have the best experience there. But backstage, someone I did have an amazing experience with was Bobby Bishop. He went out of his way, the one time I've actually met him in person, he went out of his way to make sure I was all good and all of that. And of course, he and Lucille, I think she just announced she's retired or something, but I think honestly, from a trainer's perspective, she's a pretty good trainer, and I can't wait to see what's next for them guys. And they're doing the it's hard. There's like fucking 3 or 4 different APWs in Australia now, but the Atomic Pro Wrestling stuff that they've just started, I think they're celebrating their 1-year anniversary actually next month or the month after or something, which is crazy to think that it's already been that long that they've been around. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what those guys do, and I'm always keeping an eye, up there on socials and all the fun stuff. But tell us a little bit about PW Down Under, Samuel. How did that come to be, and how did you come to be a part of the team and getting into writing articles? Have you always just had a passion for writing, or?
Yeah, well, the company itself, to my knowledge, had been in existence for some time before I joined. It was maybe. I'm getting my dates mixed up. I think it was November or December 2022. I was looking to get into some writing because it's something that I want to do in my spare time, and especially if it's related to wrestling, then even better, and maybe become a full-time job one day. I was just looking up. Yeah, well, I was just looking up local. If there are any local websites, because I know Wrestle Hustle used to be a thing, and I wasn't quite sure what was out there currently. And PWDownUnder was the first thing that came up for me in the Google search, and they had some stuff up there, some WWE stuff, and I just thought, why not get in touch, see what happens, and they got back to me after a day or two, and my first article, they asked me to write. Grayson Waller, Matty Wahlberg, had just won he was about to compete in the NXT Iron Survivor Challenge match.
Yep.
It was the first one at the time, I believe.
Yes.
So I was asked. Yeah, so I was just asked, have a look at this. I talk about the match, put Matty over Grayson, and just see. I show us how you would convey this to people, and I did that, and they said, "Well, this is pretty good." There was very little staff on at the time, so they said we need people to get the news out, especially Aussie news. So we'll have you on, and we'll see how you do. And yeah, it's been a year now, a year and a month or two, and I'm still there. We have we have quite a team now. We have guys covering local news. I do most of the big WWE and AEW news. We have a weekly Puro report for Japanese news. Of course, StarCast is coming to Ballarat next month. And we covered Impact Wrestling, TNA, when they came down as well.
Yep.
And yeah, it's become a pretty consistent thing, and everyone's really happy getting involved and just making sure that everyone knows, hey, this is an Australian publication, and we're about wrestling local and all over the world, and this is where you can get the our news that you want to see if you're an Australian wrestling fan.
Hell yeah, you got. I think if you got such a deep a deep team of people now that I think if we tried to sit here and list them all off, we'd probably end up forgetting them. But I know I think Bobby's written a handful of things. I know, I think Todd's sent a few things in as well. But like, there's just so many people that have had it. And even Benny the back rower recently, he actually sent in a write-up. I think he's done 2 parts now of what he went through with his, of his tragic, career-ending injury and stuff like that. And I know, I'm trying to think of their name off the top of my head. It used to be Jason Dewhurst. Jayla J has done a write-up or 2, I think. On it was Nikki Van Blair. I can't remember. They used to be a tag team. I always get confused between the two. I think it was Nikki Van Blair has done like a column or something. Someone's going to yell at me because I got them confused. I'm sorry. I met them when they were
that's correct.
Met them when they were a tag team in Wrestling Glow as the Plastics. I always get them mixed up because they were in a tag team. But yes, Nikki Van Blair's got a handful of columns. There's so many like people that are actually wrestlers in the business that have done stuff for PWDown, and I hope they continue to grow. I was very stoked when they reached out to me and was like, "Hey man, like, do you want to put this together?" And I'm like, "Sure." Of all the graphic designers in this country alone, you go to the dude that has one eye, but sure, I'll give it a crack. But
sorry, just one quick thing. Thanks for reminding me. A lot of local guys have done some feature articles for us relating to their home promotions or their local scenes or just stuff that's going on. They want to have their thoughts put out there to the public. So you mentioned Bobby, Todd Eastman, Damien Slater has done quite a few. I did an interview with the Giant Coyote about his injury and his retirement. And as you mentioned, Benny the back rower also spoke about his sudden retirement as well. So that's something that we really enjoy doing, is getting a lot of local guys out there talking about their stuff. Whatever they need to talk about, they can be able to put it out for our platform so fans can hear what they have to say.
I still need to get around actually to checking out the Coyote one, because I remember you around the time that you were organising the interview. I remember you were actually messaging me, and you were like, "Dude, like, I'm fucking shitting myself." And I'm like, "Dude, you've hit the jackpot with Coyote, because of all the people that you could have for a first ever interview. He's another one that nicest fucking dude. Like he follows both myself and Mrs. Crossfire on socials." And like I remember, like he saw that we were going through some shit with just mental health and physical health, and he's, with all the stuff he's going on, like that dude lost a fucking leg, and he's still reaching out to people, and he's like, "Hey, giant hugs to you, like hope you're all good," and spreading all the positivity. And I was like, dude, I hope on the other side of all this shit that I've got going on, that I can help people as much as Coyote's helped people, because that dude he's just a big giant teddy bear, and he's an absolute sweetheart of a person. So what an awesome first person to kind of help break the ice for you in that kind of environment. Do you have any more? This is kind of a bonus question, but it's just spurring off the conversation. Do you have any more interviews personally lined up for the website, or?
Well, firstly, that is the line, isn't it? I lost my fucking leg. So how much more dedicated can you get? Actually, Coyote's great. I was talking to him earlier. He never doesn't have a smile on his face. But Chad, to your other question, I don't have anything right now. Maybe at some point, but for now, I'm just sticking to the fallout of Elimination Chamber. Anything that may come out of that, anything that, I don't know, someone gets shot or fired.
Cash Wheeler pulls
all the usual
on someone.
Yeah, someone does a Billy Jack Haynes. Yes. Did you hear about that? Did you hear about what he did?
I kind of was. Like, I was literally scrolling through Facebook, and it was just like, to their credit, they didn't clickbait it. They were just like, Billy Jack Haynes arrested, and bang, and it said what he did, and I was just like, well, fuck. We shouldn't laugh about this kind of stuff, but it's it's just the shock of it all. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's a thing that happened.
Yeah, well, it's just the mindset that we have about our wrestlers from the 80s. Like, well, I should have seen that coming. All the chair shots and the coke. Anyway, what was the question again? Did I even answer?
Yeah, I just said, have you got any more lined up? And you said, no, we've got, you're just kind of focusing on the news and the bits and the bobs and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But what started your passion for creative writing? Have you always just liked writing? Like, because for me, I wanted to be two things when I was younger. Well, three things. One was a truck driver. My dad scared that out of me because he was a truck driver. I wanted to be a professional wrestler, and I wanted to be an author. Once my eyes healed, I may try and work on the third one, even if it's just a shitty small story that only two people read. I can just do it and say that I did it. But I've always just enjoyed creative writing. I don't know what it is, but as you say, especially when you bring it back to professional wrestling, like what sparked that? Is there any kind of books that you used to read as a kid that made you want to write, or is it just I want to get in the mind of Samuel here?
Well, if you get into the mind, let me know what you see, if you find anything good. Yeah, growing up, so just to throw back to a past episode, you mentioned how you yourself were knocking at the door of autism, right?
Yes. I'm ADHD as fuck, and I'm literally the doctor described it to me as if it's that scene from Harry Potter. Because I was a young kid when the first two Harry Potter movies came out. He literally described it to me as I'm not because they have the spectrum, and the spectrum obviously over the years has kind of, morphed and evolved into different things. But to me, he's like, you're not on the spectrum, but it's like that scene from Harry Potter where they run into the wall at fucking platform 9 3/4. Like if it was a line and it was a force field, I'm headbutting that wall pretty much. And I'm just like, okay, it's so I'm not autistic, but if that wall was able to break, I'd probably put my head through it. But continue,
yeah, well,
yeah.
I'll tell you what. I put my head through the door and I'm fucking stuck. So, it's not. I'm not very good at keeping my attention on a certain thing unless it's really pulled me in.
Yep.
So, in the case of reading, I didn't read a whole lot growing up, but a series that really kind of opened my eyes about what writing could be was the Andy Griffiths books, because A, they were entertaining, and B, they pretty much showed me that storytelling in a way doesn't have to be so contrived and well constructed. It can just be a very chaotic series of events that you just tell in your own way, and some people can find that interesting, find it entertaining, and I guess in a way that led me on the road to just wanting to tell stories in a way that I thought people would like. Either I can make them laugh, or I can make them see things in a different way. And when it came to wrestling, I can't think of a more niche and stigmatized form of sport or entertainment right now. Or maybe cockfighting, but that's a different story.
Fucking pop.
Well, what they used to call it on the years, well, no, that was the Ultimate Fighting Championship, but human cockfighting. So yeah, maybe I'm correct, but it falls under the philosophy of wrestling booking almost. I want to tell a story to make people feel something, and if I can do that, then as far as I'm concerned, I did things correctly.
I love that you said that the chaoticness though, because I'm now you've just made me question myself. I'm was that doctor wrong? Did I actually put my head through the wall? Because controlled story, chaotic storytelling is, but you've just described my entire listener base. I think just about all of my friends and family that actually do listen to this pod have some sort of attention deficit disorder or whatever. And they're just listening to me go from fucking leaps and valleys, and I'll go on fucking 3 or 4 side quests before I finish telling the story, and it somehow ends up making sense in the end. But no, I like that. It's good that you found something that you're passionate about though at such a at such a young age. Because I honestly, until you said earlier that you're 22 years old, like I knew I was older than you, but it's the same with Jackson Thorne, who I interviewed a few weeks back. I often forget like just how big the age gap is. Like, 7 years is 7 years. It's not that big of a gap, but I'm like, it's just enough that I'm like, fuck, like I feel old now. I feel like a big brother almost. But no, it's cool that you found very early on that you enjoyed telling stories, and it's cool, even cooler that now you're, via PWDownUnder able to kind of translate that to the thing that you do. What's the word? Hyperfocus, hyperfixate. There's two different words. They mean the same thing basically, but it's cool that you're able to translate that into the setting of professional wrestling.
Yeah, I don't know if I was focused on almost anything else, it probably wouldn't be I probably wouldn't have been done it for the year that I have with PWDownUnder. I have to sit down and think about what else could I actually do this for a whole year. I can't think of anything right now.
But if we can go back to like some of your earliest memories and just marking out in general, because at the end of the day, that's what this show is about. I'm a mark before I'm anything else, and I'll forever hold that above any old timer that uses the word mark as an insult. Like, what is your all-time favorite match, both that you've seen on TV and that you have seen live? Or a handful of matches. Like, I don't want to gun to your head and be like, one match. No, you can like 3 matches, 5 matches, 10 matches. I don't give a fuck. Like, what are some matches that just stand out to you and your fandom of wrestling?
I was going to say strap in because I don't fucking have one. But, I could probably give you... I could probably give you 3 that I would, after we're done, I could go watch right now and just be like, yeah, I love that match. Everyone needs to see this match. The first one is a recent one. I'll do one recent one and I'll do 2 from way back from when I was younger. Ilya Dragunov and Walter, the second match.
Yes,
yep. I watched that one live and I think there's always that kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know if stigma is the right word, but like the opposition to a small guy beating a big guy. Walter was the kind of guy who there was very few people I feel like who could have actually beaten him, and everyone would have been like, all right, yeah, I can see that. Well done. Good title reign. Let's move on. And Dragunov would have been one of those guys, and I don't know many more that could have done it. Maybe Samoa Joe. He for carrying cross on that card. But Dragunov has that style, and I think that pain tolerance, which you kind of got to have against Walter Gunther. To be the guy that can just smash heads, just lift that heavy load, dump him on his head, and he made him tap out, which I was not expecting.
Yeah, actually, I forgot about that. Actually, yeah, fuck.
Yeah, no, we got him in like not a full Nelson. I think it was a Dragon Sleeper kind of thing.
Yeah, fuck. I was like, shit.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought he pinned him, but yeah, fuck. I completely forgot about that. Now I'm going to have to go back and rewatch that match.
Yeah, you should. Everyone listening, go watch that fucking match if you haven't watched it. Or if you have watched it, then watch it again. Because I will be. And it's just an emotional roller coaster, which I think just goes back to storytelling. It's very important. For me, anyway, I'm a big psychology guy. I could care less about big, crazy moves if they don't mean anything, Oh,
100%.
And I guess that would lead me to number 2. In the case, so I mentioned I'm like ruthless aggression, like early PG era, and I really loved the CM Punk, Summer of Punk situation that was going on post Straight Edge Punk. I started watching around 2008, and fast forward to 2011, CM Punk was the biggest thing going. I'd seen him win the Money in the Bank twice. He beat Jeff Hardy. And then at Money in the Bank 2011, this is match number 2, he beat John Cena. And everything about that was a complete 180 of the WWE that I had seen. This counterculture figure like Punk being so universally loved, and then the literal face of the company, John Cena, just being the most hated person for that 30 minutes, however long it was, the match. It just captivated me, and I watched it recently after he came back to Survivor Series, did Punk, and I thought, I really don't understand why he's so hated from our perspective, from a fan's perspective. Because if I go back and I watch everything, most of the things that he did in that time, I think he pulled it off perfectly, and he was just a big fucking deal. And I really can't speak highly enough about that one match in particular.
See, and this is where I get heat, because I'm like that. Like, I've followed Punk from Ring of Honor all the way, like, up to that, and I'm like, this is where people need to understand. They're like, how can you be a Punk fan but not say you want to see him wrestle again? I'm like, because that shit there, like, I could watch that over and over and over. Like, I still love the guy as a wrestler, like, but I'm just like, at this point, can his body give that quality of match? And the answer to me is like, it's no, because nothing can hold a candle to that. And everyone's just like, but there's so many people that are like messaging me like, how can you be a fan and want to buy his merch but not want to see him wrestle again? And I'm like, cause I can just go back and watch that shit as many times as I want from now until the day that I die, and it's still going to stand up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get that. So it's trying to make some enemies. I don't like all elite wrestling at all. And you know that, John. I've made it clear.
Oh, Jesus, the hate that I've gotten from like shitting on AEW on this show. And I'm like, look, I'll shit on WWE, I'll shit on AEW, I'll shit on anything that I don't like, and I'll promote things that I love even more. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, totally. And I'll give... You're probably going to ask me at the end how people could get a hold of me if they want to. So if you want to give me hate, now's your chance, or you'll find out in just a bit.
Jesus. Continue.
So, so I didn't see Punk in AEW ever. I saw the Last Dance, the comeback on Rampage, and I fucking cried. And that's it. I didn't see anything else. Because I almost decided that I was going to buy that fight subscription or the AEW Plus, whatever you need to watch it here in Australia. But I just couldn't bring myself to put up with everything else I didn't enjoy on a show, whether it's Dynamite or Rampage or a pay-per-view or Collision, just to see Punk do a promo or have a match, whether it's with FTR or whatever. And we'll talk about FTR in just a second. And yeah, when he finally came back to the WWE, I thought, okay, he's definitely only got one run left. Let's see if he can actually do it, and I'm ready for it. I'm ready for the whole thing. And now he's been hurt. I'm starting to think, well,
in his first match, well, not first match because you had the live event with Dom, but like his first televised match back, it's the Rumble. They try to build him up as a big deal, and fucking
So he's gotten hurt. So it's like, okay, maybe that run isn't going to happen. I don't know. I mean, he obviously intends to come back, so we'll just have to see what happens. Yeah, but as far as Punk goes, I once upon a time, literally the best in the fucking world. And for my third match, bit of a swerve, bro. But The one thing about AEW, the one thing I did watch, thanks to the Giant Coyote, by the way, I think it was 2021 or 2022 Forbidden Door. You might be able to help me, John. Do you recall?
I haven't actually. So here's the thing. I keep up with AEW like on socials and yada yada yada. I haven't ordered a pay-per-view since All Out 2021 because I had all this momentum. Punk came back with Darby, had a pretty good match in that. I think he kind of peaked in that match, but within 4 weeks of that, all of the momentum, like they weren't going to overtake WWE by any means, but they were on the cusp of getting some casual fans in, and in typical Tony Khan fashion, he just shot himself in the foot. And I went from ordering this pay-per-view and being like, fuck, AEW's got me invested, to literally haven't ordered an event in 3. I actually kind of want to order Revolution coming out. They've got some good matches, but at the same time, there's part of me that's like, but what if I regret it? But no, like I legit, after 4 weeks, within the span of 4 weeks, I stopped watching AEW since 2021, and I just kind of keep up on socials. I've watched a couple of Adam Copeland's stuff here and there on YouTube, and I'm just like, it's cool and all, but like, why is he not being used as a special attraction?
Yeah.
Like, I get, he wants to do his thing, but yeah. But yeah, so I couldn't tell you that with the Forbidden Doors, because although I've watched bits and pieces of both, I didn't really get invested enough to really tell you which event is which, to be honest. But yes,
all right,
FTR versus someone.
So it was Forbidden Door 2022, and it was FTR versus Great O'Khan and what was his face? Hang on, I've lost it.
I'm just trying to think who's in the United Empire. There's Cobb, there's Ospreay, there's TJP.
Yeah. And Jeff Cobb versus Roppongi Vice, Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero.
Yes, I love Rocky.
Yeah, so if there's one match that I could just say I would watch AEW if it was all like this, it's this match. FTR always thought that they were a really good tag team, and they were the team that made me just believe that tag team wrestling still exists. And I've always seen Trent do his thing on AEW, so to see him in this kind of position, he's kind of like a heel, but a different kind of heel. And the way that everyone worked in that match, God damn it! It's been a while, but I might have to see if I can watch it again, because it was. I didn't get the pay-per-view live, and I'm glad I didn't, because I watched that match again and again and again before I watched anything else. And it was one of the reasons. Again, I debated, should I actually watch this show just to see FTR, just to see Punk? I don't know. Maybe I should just keep watching this match. Maybe that's all I need.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the upcoming match, and I'm like, they got the main event. It's Hangman, it's Swerve and Joe, and I'm like, Sting's having his last match, and there's a couple of other things. I think Tony Storm versus Deonna. I'm a big fan of Deonna. I'm like, there's good matches, but then at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I really want to buy it, but then there's part of me that, like, I think I was messaging you, like when RVD showed up on Dynamite. I was watching it live because I was like, nostalgia pop. I love RVD. I popped because he came out to Walk by Pantera, his old ECW theme. And then I watched the rest of that episode, and I literally was like, why the fuck did I just do that to myself? Like, I was messaging you, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what did I just watch? And you're just like, this is on you, buddy. But
yes,
no,
I understand.
FTR, phenomenal tag team, and pretty much everything they've touched, both in WWE as the revival and post WWE as FTR has been amazing. Like the double dog collar match with the Briscoes in Ring of Honor was fucking phenomenal. But if you ever were to, in theory, be a wrestler, Samuel, Do you have any like particular wrestlers, like dead, alive, present, past, whatever, that would be your dream opponents? And do you have like any dream stipulations?
All right. An inspiration, probably above all. Fuck, I don't. I think someone who just really shows off what it means to be a top guy that's dedicated to the cause, Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Yep. His wrestling style, I don't know if I could pull that off, but the attitude and the willpower to get to the point where you're on top, like the very top, and you're working everyone down under all over the place, and consistently getting audiences to be like, yeah, that guy's the best. We love him. He would be the guy that I would want to be like, and be like, well, what would Ric Flair do? Just going back to, just thinking about his match with Ricky Steamboat. It's the first match I think of when I think of Flair. It's like, that's the kind of match that I want to have.
The entire series of matches that he had with the Steamboat and like a young Surfer Sting and the battles with Dusty, like you can, obviously Flair unfortunately has become a bit controversial in his own right in the last few years, but you go back and you watch all that stuff. You watch all that stuff though, and he's literally like, obviously people say modern day Randy Orton, which makes sense because he sat under the learning tree of Flair, but you go back and you watch that stuff, and that was pretty much, I guess it was still technically sports entertainment at the time, but the epitome of being a professional wrestler. A lot of people, and rightfully so, given what he just did, as you just mentioned, Ric Flair, without a doubt, one of the greatest of all times, and definitely not a bad option to kind of pattern yourself off. And I mean, even later on in his career, that HBK Flair match where Flair, quote unquote, retired before he went to TNA and kept wrestling anyway. But that you talk about, storytelling and emotion and psychology and shit like that. That's amazing. Like you can't top that.
Yeah, if only a lot of other people thought that. And I kid. And as for the stipulation, I think an Iron Man match would be the perfect sort of blank canvas for storytelling and psychology.
I love the classic Iron Man matches. Like, even like the HBK Brett one, like, a lot of people say that it's become overrated, and in ways I can see, but it's like, yeah, okay, an Iron Man match, nowadays there's, 2 to 3 falls at the end, or if there is a tie, it'll be 3 and 3. But I loved the fact that it's like we'd never seen it really at that point. And it was like, these guys are going to go an hour regardless. And then it still goes into overtime. It was this real, like, for that era, for that generation, they didn't need to do fucking 50 Canadian destroyers and 110 super kicks and yada, yada, yada. I think Shawn throws 2 super kicks in that whole thing, is when he super kicks the timekeeper by accident in the actual match, and then when they go into sudden death, he hits the super kick for the win. Like, the emotional roller coaster they take you on in that match is phenomenal.
Well, by the way, speaking of an Iron Man match, I did mention in the middle of my marking out, I forgot I mentioned to you I would mention an older match, and I just gave you 3 very, very recent matches. So how about Brock Lesnar again and Kurt Angle in that Iron Man match?
Dude, that's probably, honestly, my all-time favorite Iron Man match. Like, the storytelling in that of, Brock, gets himself DQ'd and this and that, but because it's an Iron Man match, there's no champion's advantage, and then he uses that to get a couple falls up. And, it's just, again, it's basic psychology and stuff, and then on top of that, both guys have legitimate, proper amateur, like, wrestling, grappling experience, and they just made magic together every single time they clashed. Like that's a good one. Honestly, that's a really good one.
Unfortunately, a lot of the matches that I could just say I love from back in the day, most of them would involve Brock Lesnar.
It is what it is at this point, unfortunately. Like, he's a nowhere near the level of things that allegedly, but all the stuff that Vince has been accused of, and a lot of it's been proven. Like, it's not on that level just yet. So I'm like, the fact that he's being completely erased is kind of like, okay, that's a little bit weird. But like, we don't have all the full details. We probably never will. But it's just a fucking crazy time to be a wrestling fan in 2020. Like, did you see the story? Like, it's a legitimate story. The Elimination Chamber almost didn't arrive to Australia because they had to change. Like, originally it was meant to sail through, like, some islands or something. And apparently there was legitimate real-life pirates circling the islands. So they then had to transfer the Elimination Chamber from Orlando, where the warehouse is, to Miami. Went from a truck to Miami to Las Vegas, and then had to go from a ship to Vegas to Sydney, and then train from Sydney to Perth, where it was meant to go originally all the way through these islands to Perth directly, but they had to change course because of real-life pirates. Like, that to me, like, how much crazier is 2024 going to get?
Anyone else just think of Captain Phillips? I am the captain now. What the fuck is this cage?
But the crazy thing is, that if Vince was still in charge, part of me's like, would he have just not delivered the chamber and been like, pirates have stolen the chamber. Sorry, Australia. And just turned it into a gimmick.
Put the pirates on the card, it'll be fine.
Brings Paul Burchill back, beats fucking Seth Rollins for the title at Mania Night.
Somalian pirates with fucking machine guns.
Fucking Johnny Depp comes in as Captain Jack Sparrow. Jeez.
I would drive all the way to Perth for all of that. I don't care.
But as we start to wind down, man, I don't want to keep you sitting in a hot car all day. Like, it's like 33 degrees here, so fuck knows how hot it is up your way. But the non-wrestling questions before we go into all the plugs and the socials and it's my understanding that you're a bit of an anime fan, yes?
All right, you got me. Yeah, I do dabble in a bit of the anime.
And again, you don't have to just give me just one. It's no gun to your head situation. But like, what are some of your standout like favorite animes? Because for me, I'm always like, I'm a basic bitch. I'm always just gonna go back to fucking the Dragon Ball Z series and even like fucking like Digimon and shit, which aren't like hardcore animes, but like that's just the shit I grew up on. But like I've been binging the fuck out of Initial D lately. Like One Piece, I kind of dabbled in. I was never the biggest fan, but what are some of your favorite animes?
Yeah, I would fall under the basic bitch category too, and just go with Dragon Ball.
Fuck but yes, my dude.
a few that really got me into it was Attack on Titan.
Yes.
Was one that really drew me in. I'm like, okay, that's different. I like this.
I need to watch that properly. I've seen bits and pieces, and every bit that I have seen, I've thoroughly enjoyed.
And another one, the Seven Deadly Sins, was one that just pulled me in immediately. And every time I'd feel like, okay, I'm going to stop here and just sort of assess what I know about the series, and then I'll come back to it, and then the next episode will start, and I'm just hooked again, and I can't stop. So that I would say up there for me. But if I could throw an obscure one out there for anyone who hasn't seen it, Assassination Classroom will blow your fucking mind. You need to see it.
I haven't even heard of that, so I'm going to have to go out of my way to find this now.
Trust the process, John. It will be worth it.
Fuck yeah. Like, and for like anyone, like, I'm about to cancel with the way they keep raising their prices and shit, but if anyone has Netflix, I can't think of the names off the top of my head because, again, ADHD, but I've watched a good chunks of the Netflix original animes that they've put out, and say what you want about their live action adaptations of animes that already exist. That's another story. But the original animes that Netflix have produced, I've watched a good chunk of them, and all of them I have absolutely loved. I've watched probably about like 90% of the ones that they've put out and thoroughly enjoyed. But again, basic bitch, I still find myself coming back to Dragon Ball. I still haven't even watched Dragon Ball Super. I should probably do that, but I'll just be here watching the original Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z series over and over.
I'll do it too, and we'll see you all next year.
But where can people find you, and where can people find PW Down Under and all the fun stuff, so I can link it below, Samuel? Hopefully by the time this goes out, you'll have another article or two out that people can go read.
Yeah, well, if it's going to be out in like mid-March, and I definitely will. Right, just give me 2 seconds. You can find, I don't post a hell of a lot. So this is mainly for contact purposes. If anyone needs to get a hold of me for whatever reason, or just to talk shit, I'm on Instagram. It's Samuel Beeton, PWD, and it will have the Pro Wrestling Down Under logo. And I just use that for contact reasons. If I need to contact anybody, or if anyone needs to contact me. For Pro Wrestling Down Under, they are on Facebook, X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram at prowrestlingdownunder.com. And also the website, prowrestlingdownunder.com, is where you can find all the articles from myself and everyone else. And yeah, that seems to be everything. If I could just say really quick, shout out to all the guys from the website, Marek, Wayne, Lawrence, Eli, Reese, Dave, Carl, and Andy. All those guys do the whole thing. It's not just me, it's everyone else. So make sure that if you're ever looking at articles and you see those names, just know that those guys all have a big hand in making sure that the website runs smoothly and all the content gets out, all the good content that you all love.
Yeah, I myself need to actually track down the names so I can give them actual follows themselves as well, because all my interactions is just with the actual PW Down Under Instagram page. So I'm I don't even know who I'm talking to half the time. So, but I need to keep an eye on that. I think Marek's one. I think in one of the messages he did sign off that he was the one messaging. So I know for a fact that I have talked to him at least once. But yeah, everyone keep an eye out for that. Is there anything coming up that by the time this comes out specifically that we can look out for in terms of articles or events that you're allowed to talk about by the time this comes out?
Well, the big thing is obviously StarCast Down Under, down in Ballarat. We are going to be covering all of the announcements that will be appearing. So we've got who did we get just now? We got Steph Lander. Just before that, we got Nick Nemeth. A lot of great guys and girls from overseas will be showing up, and we're going to be talking about them on the website. Also, I believe there might be some more features coming out in a little while.
Okay, yep.
I don't know when, but we'll see. And yeah, everyone's just, as I said, as of this moment where you and I are speaking, everyone's just cooling down from Elimination Chamber, and we're getting ready to get back into the swing of things in the coming week.
As kind of like a bonus question, just before we end this, is there anyone in Oz Wrestling specifically that you're kind of eyeing or is on your wish list to do features on, or?
Ooh,
it's kind of a loaded question, but again, you don't have to give me just one answer.
You know what? I think what is? Yeah. I mentioned earlier, UPW was my first ever promotion that I ever attended. The first ever Australian wrestler that I saw was EC Diamond.
Oh,
And
phenomenal talent.
He has just he's just had a little bit of a comeback of sorts. He just works for Pro Wrestling League, and by the looks of it, he set himself up. I think he's going to be back for a little while. He, as you said, is a phenomenal talent. He would be someone that I'd be very keen to talking to or have talk to us about his career and his life in wrestling. And I think that would be really interesting. I'd love to hear that.
Hell yeah, so EC Diamond, if for whatever reason you're listening, hit up Samuel Beeton. Links in the description and yada, yada, yada.
Or get a hold of the website if I'm not available. Cheers.
Indeed. Get in contact with someone on the PWDownUnder website and make that shit happen. But I appreciate you jumping on, man. I said to you probably, close to like a year ago now that I was like, hey, man, like, it's cool that you're working for PWDownUnder. I'll let you jump on and talk about it and just talk about your story, since how we talk pretty much every day. We just useless nonsense pretty much just to pass each other's respective times. But it finally happened, and I appreciate you jumping on, man.
Should we just repeat our entire our Instagram conversations as this podcast? It's just real, offensive joke, real.
I did say that, honestly, at this point, I think 2024 is going to be the year that I get cancelled, because I'm just at the point where I'm just sick of people's attitudes. But honestly, some of those jokes probably would get me cancelled. But it's all about context, people. Context is key in everything you do.
This is a wrestling business. You can't be offended. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like people say, it's almost a cop-out in some aspects because it's just an excuse for bullying. But you really do, in the wrestling business, to an extent, have to have, that kind of a thick skin sort of thing. But no, I appreciate you jumping on, man, and I'm hoping I haven't taken too much time. It's almost dinner time here, which means it'll be getting close for you up there. You're an hour behind, so I'll let you go and let you sort out what you want to do for the rest of the night. And yeah, man, I'll let you know. And once I've done, how are we doing this? Am I just going to slap the PWDownUnder logo on the thumbnail, or?
Yeah, sure. If you want to do that, that'd be fine. Yeah.
PWDownUnder's Samuel Beeton, or Samuel Beeton from PWDownUnder, whichever pops in my mind as I'm making it. But I appreciate you jumping on, man. I'll let you go, and I'll go and make my dinner. I'm making some sort of wrap. I was hoping it was Mexican, but it's not. But that's okay. Still love wraps. Wraps are the shit. Fun fact for people on the pod, like a month later by the time this goes out. But no, I appreciate you jumping on, dude.
Still like wraps.
Does Joe Crossfire still like raps? Stay tuned, and when I put in the intro and outro, I'll be like, it tastes like shit. No. I appreciate you jumping on, dude. I appreciate your banter. Mrs. Crossfire was actually going to jump on, but she's feeling a little bit under the weather today. I think all this traveling with her brain condition is just kind of fucking her around. Fucking chaotic. So hopefully by the time this episode goes out, I'll actually, that's the main reason I'm waiting before I do the intro and outro, because usually I slap it together so it's there, but I'll save the audio from this interview, but hopefully I'll have health updates for both myself and Mrs. Crossfire and yada, 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 all the fun stuff on this episode with Samuel Beeton, which I think is, will this be episode 98? Fuck. Holy shit. Almost at 100. Jesus Christ, that blows my mind, even with the break that I took. But yeah, I appreciate you jumping on, man. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep going in fucking circles and keep you all bloody night.
Yeah, no worries, dude. I'll get out of this car.
See you, mate. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Samuel Beeton from PWDownUnder. Of course, his links will be below, and yada, 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 for episode 97, not 98, as I said in the conversation. Again, got a little bit ahead of myself, but ADHD is fuck, and I think with everything that's going on, I feel like I'm sick of talking about my health, but I feel like that gives me a rite of passage. This freaking eye pressure is just making my brain go stupid. But Mrs. Crossfire, she's heard tidbits of the actual conversation, and she enjoyed it, and I really enjoy that, because I don't want to say just a fan, because obviously, I mean, if Dave Meltzer can be classed as being in the business and all he's doing is just giving his opinion since the 70s, I feel like Samuel doing articles can consider himself at least on the border of being in the business. So he's not just a fan, but I want to try and get more fans on. Like, obviously, we've just had Joel Southgate on. Go back and listen to that episode if you haven't already. By the time this episode's actually out, we've actually got Alistair Fleming, who's not a fan. He's a fantastic wrestler, but make sure you go back and listen to that. That'll be last week's episode when you're hearing this one. But, I had Joel Southgate on, I had Samuel on. Obviously, we were planning for Kyle. He was going to be the very first fan on the show, and we teed it up a little bit, but it just didn't end up happening. But no, I just want to try and get more people on, and you and I were just discussing off air that I know we need to get in. And so I posted the clip of when I finally ticked Muzdog off, and everyone came out of the woodwork of, why aren't I on there? I'm like, dude, this list hasn't been touched in 6 months to a year.
Literally as well, we've kind of started going, shit, like now I'm on with you. We've gone, hey, we should have people from all different backgrounds, whether they're in the business, they're fans, they're freaking wrestling adjacent.
There's people on that list that haven't been active in wrestling for 2 years at this point. So that shows you how long it's been since.
And now I'm like, let's revisit it.
But we're trying to get through, trying to get a good flow. But I really enjoyed that conversation with Samuel, and I'd really love to get a chance to, if knock on wood, Lord forbid, all the stars align, whatever. And again, as we talk about in the MC Wormy conversation, which you'll hear next week upon this episode dropping, cheap plug, whatever you do or don't believe in, fucking pray to it, whatever. But I just hope that everything can align one day, and one day I can sit down and actually have an in-person chat with Samuel, because he's someone he's followed my socials for the last few years, and he's become, he started as an acquaintance, but he has become somewhat of a mate, and we communicate with basically nothing but reels. But that's how I communicate with all the people that's my love language. It's just wrestling, music, and just here's 20 reels that you'll probably get to in 3 months' time.
Legit dream is pretty much just packing our shit up and just traveling around, getting to talk to people. That'd be sick,
man. In-person interviews are always gonna be better, and I think that's why when you and I do our solo interviews, that's why I wanted you to jump on here and just
bounce
vibe,
off each other, vibe, bounce,
The song of the week, Mrs. Crossfire. If you wanted to repeat it again,
yep.
You
so
chose
it was
it.
Over and Over by 3 Days Grace.
That is Over and Over by 3 Days Grace.
Over and over.
Over and over. For some reason, when I think of Over and Over, my head just goes to Tim McGraw and Nelly. All in my head. Man, I'm just saying,
I love that song. That's fire.
There's someone that does, I can't think, Alex someone, he does all of these songs, and it's in the style of Blink-182. He did Wonderwall in the style of Blink-182.
Did you show me that?
I have sent it to you. You haven't listened to it yet. Ugh. It would make an awesome fucking wrestling entrance theme. 100%.
Yes.
It's so sick. But if someone could
Jots it down in case they ever wrestle.
Someone takes Over and Over by Nelly and Tim McGraw and turns it into a rock song or a punk song.
Over and over.
Over and over. It's all in my head. I'll think about it over and over again.
Yes,
but over and over again. Over and over, rather, by 3 Days Grace. Again, this is just, it's just going in fucking loops. Well, we just talked about it, I think, actually. Again, we're filming this intro and outro after talking to Wormy, just because that's how it happened. But we talked about it in the outro for that hashtag what are words should be a t-shirt.
Graffiti style, it's what are words.
My brain's already ticking, and I'm probably going to do it. I've got fucking 20 odd designs on the tee. But the thing is with pro wrestling tees, they used to have a limit, right? Where it's you had to sell so many. And I sold a couple to where I was able to add more designs. And then they just went, fuck it, add as many as you want. And I guess it makes sense because they're all made to order. I've probably only sold maybe one of all of the designs up there. Some of the new designs I've put up, I haven't sold just yet. But I'm that's fine.
It happens,
It's fine, right? But no, I'm just I like having that because it's all made to order and you can do your own size and style and yada, yada, yada. But
even if it's just for us to wear around the fucking place.
Before I get too far ahead of myself, the match of the week again, as I said in the intro, was DIY versus The Revival, NXT Toronto 2016. That's still boggled my fucking mind. But click all the links in the description. Miss Nova Lee's Instagram will be there. And then the link tree containing my Instagram, Facebook, and yada, 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 yada. Both for the podcast and my Crossfire stuff will be there. as well as my pro wrestling tees. Nice little segue. All designs are made to order. You can pick sizes from small all the way up to 5X. Keep in mind they are American sizes, so they're bigger than a traditional Australian sizes. So very hefty shirts. You can order them long sleeve, no sleeve, extra soft, V-neck, fucking crew neck. Like there's, I don't know how many different design like options there is. But
I was just having a little giggle there before because you're like, I was like, this should be a shirt too, and it's like yada yada yada.
Yada yada yada. That's
because every time we're like yada yada yada.
Actually, have I made that?
Yada,
I need
yada,
to make
yada,
that the song
yada,
of the week for an episode at some point. It's called Yada 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 by Brendan someone. It's a country song.
We need to have an episode where you just say it on purpose a lot and be like, and that song is yada yada yada. It's like a gimmicky episode.
I don't know how many like people like. Obviously, this is professional wrestling. Music blends over, and there's a bit of nerdy shit here and there. But like for my fellow How I Met Your Mother fans,
yes,
but
yes, and also legend. Wait for it. Derry.
When they're doing the drinking game for Robin.
Yes.
But no, thank you to Samuel for jumping on. As I said, I definitely 100% will get Samuel back on at some
Yes, I
point.
want to catch him next time.
Hopefully he's not sitting in a hot ass car next time, but I wouldn't mind getting him on for some sort of Markapalooza episode. And
oh hell yes, yes.
even if we obviously we did the Royal Rumble, we've only did the one we did with Atticus Slane, but I wouldn't mind doing one with him. And
this is super ADHD. Sorry, I don't want to drag it out too much. But even what if we did a Markapalooza, but it's like fan versus fan, so we have on Southie as well, and they can kind of have some bants off each other. Like I know Samuel's more than just a fan. Like he is does articles and everything for PWDownUnder as well. And it's like more of a journal side of things. But at the same time, like that would be a cool episode.
It'd almost do like a tag team Markapalooza where the whole card is tag team matches, and it's like mine and your picks versus Samuel and someone else.
Yes.
Or even if Samuel, just being the massive like nerd that he is, he can just pick all of the tag teams and shit on us, because I guarantee you the Young Bucks will be on mine just to troll him, because I have a guilty pleasure for how much I love the Bucks and Kenny, and he's not super big on them. That'd be the main event.
Yeah, something like that.
That'll be the main event. Is this the Young Bucks versus FTR? And it's just a straight up match, and we just cause chaos and divide the internet. Yes. But no, definitely, I want to get him on at some point, and we'll work out the logistics. But thank you again, Nathaniel, for coming on. Click all the links, as we've said, and as we're gonna say in all these episodes, for as long as it remains up there, hopefully we can get these trips under control. But the GoFundMe is there. It's the very top of the link tree when you click on it. That was requested by people that were donating. I didn't do that just to be vain. As I said, like, I'm not expecting people to donate, because it's hard times for everyone. Like, we've got friends and family that are working 2 or 3 jobs, and they're still struggling. It's a ridiculous time. Like, even today, like, this is a sidebar, right? But this morning, as we record this outro now, we were in Woolworths, and we cashed in our empty water bottles and yada yada yada, and we put the $30 that we got towards groceries. Turkish Delights were on special. They were half price. They're $1.25. It was like 3 months ago they were $1 when half price, and then before that it was 90 cents. I remember when that was 70 cents half price.
Yes.
Like, it's just
sometimes even
inflation is
50%,
yeah,
like
it's
50
just-
cents. Like they
I
were
know,
$1
like,
just as is.
even
like,
just sharing the link,
wild.
we truly appreciate all the help that everyone's given us. And
so damn grateful.
yeah, as we said, stay tuned to the vlogs and the Courting Conversation YouTube channel for the streams I've been doing as well. The full replays are being uploaded onto there, and I've got them series. But the vlogs will be the more current form of the health updates and yada yada yada. But as we record this, one of the stitches has come out, as we said in the intro, and hopefully we'll have more news by the time this episode drops.
Everything crossed that some more stitches come out.
By the time this episode has dropped, CIC vlog number 4 will have dropped. Permitting. Hopefully they don't fucking cancel the appointment between now and then. But
fuck's sake.
literally yesterday, as we record this outro, they sent me they sent me the text message of, hey, just a reminder, your appointment's at this time, and blah 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 blah. So that's a good sign. But yeah, no, thanks Samuel for jumping on. We're literally bordering on an hour and 20, and that's before I've even slapped on the little music intro at the start. So anything else you want to plug?
I think that's pretty much it. Hope to catch you next time.
John L. Crossfire. With me was Miss Nova Lee.
Nova Lee.
You were just caught
In conversation. Shaka-laka-laka.